For the best prices and service on Pokemon TCG singles and products, check out ccgcastle.com and use promo code Evolutionaries-5 for 5% off your next order.
What's up, guys? Ed here, and today for this Deck Tech Thursday, I'm going to be giving you guys my Tapu Chicken Zoroark deck profile. Now, Zoroark has seen a lot more popularity as of late, especially the Drampa Zoroark variants, which I figured, that thing's been out all over the place already. Everyone knows about Drampa Zoroark. It's a very simple deck, but very powerful. So I figure I mix that with my other variations of the deck. So as we all know, Zoroark is my favorite Pokemon, one of the channel mascots, and just so happens to be my specialty of deck. So without delay, we're gonna get right into it. So 3/3 line of Zoroark. I use the Moonless Madness Zora just for an automatic infusion, but it really doesn't matter which Zora you use, whichever one makes you happy. And now for Zoroark, whew, what a card. So stage 1, as we all know, so not too bad, has the ability Stand In, which for those of you older players, you would know as Kelio's Russian. You put this Pokemon on your active in substitution of your other active. And the attack Mind Jack, probably one of the best attacks in the game. 10 damage plus 30 more for each of your opponent's bench, and all just for a double colorless, so it's amazing. Amazing indeed. And now we're going to be running 2 copies of Zoroark Break. Now this is one of the reasons why this deck does so well against Garbodor. Because the Break has the attack Foul Play. For a single Dark Energy, you copy your opponent's active Pokemon's attack with, and you do not need to meet the energy requirements for that attack. So one of the most popular things to do if you're against Garbodor is to just Foul Play their Trash-a-Lanche, copy their attack, and then you're knocking them out. And what's cool is in Zoroark, the Dark type, he's resistant to Psychic, which, especially in Break form, that helps against the Garbodor matchup. Makes it a little harder for them to knock you out. So, that about does it for the regular Zoroark line. So glad this deck is back at popularity, guys. Woo! Alright. And now, we run 4 copies of the Tapu Chicken himself. Yes, the Flying Flip attack is so good. Double colorless, and it does 20 to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So 2 damage counters everywhere. And it's got Electro Ball, but we don't worry about that because we don't run Electric Energy. It's 110 basic and has free retreat, so really, really good to start with. Really good to start with indeed. And now we run 2 copies of Tapu Lele. Basically the new Shaman. You bench it, you get yourself a new supporter. And not to mention the attack energy drive for a double colorless, 20 for each energy attached to both your Lele and your opponent's active. So you could very well take advantage of this attack here in this deck. So very good Pokemon. Obviously not something you want to start with, but if you do start with it, it's not the end of the world because it can still attack pretty good. And of course we do have 1 copy of Shaman EX. I can't wait for this guy to get out of here. Get out, Shaman, you broke the game too much. But luckily Lele is weeding out Shaman little by little. Just like I said it would, but all my friends called me crazy and stupid. Well, my friends, who's crazy and stupid now? Ha! And 1 crazy stupid friend 0. Alright, so that does it for the Pokemon lineup. And now let's get into our supporter lineup. So, as per always, 4 copies of Professor Sycamore, 2 copies of N, with 1 copy of Lily to go with it. We got 2 copies of Lysander, obvious reasons. Have a Professor Kukui, Pokemon Fan Club, because Garb, Hex Maniac, and last but not least, we have an Ace Trainer. Now, Ace Trainer is not a very common card in Zoroark decks, but I've been testing it out, and Ace Trainer works really, really well. Because a lot of the time, you're going to have these little 60 HP Zoras out, which 60 HP, that's not too hard to knock out. And same thing with Tapu Koko. Yes, 110 HP for a non-EX or GX basic is really good, don't get me wrong, but it's still not too difficult to knock out. So, with that, Ace Trainer really comes in handy for that. So when your opponent gets one of those easy knockouts, you can make him pay for it with the Ace Trainer. And Hex Maniac, just because that gets you out of so many situations. Professor Kukui, because you're already doing a lot of damage with Zoroark, So on a regular bench of 5, the most damage you could be doing is 160 damage. And one of the biggest reasons I have the Tapu Koko Pro in here is just to add that little bit more damage to get the 180 knockout. And then with Professor Kukui, you could do the magical 200 knockout, and so on and so forth. So Zoroark has always been just short of that 2-price knockout, but we have stuff like Kukui and now Tapu Koko to help make it a one-shot. Alright, and for supporters, that is it. And yes, I run a lot of one-of supporters now because of Tapu Lele, so you can run a lot more of these one-ofs here too. So if there was ever like Delinquent, Team Skull Grunt, stuff like that you guys want to run in your decks, you can now because we've got Tapu Lele. Alright. Now for our items, got 3 copies of Ultra Ball, along with 4 copies, 4 copies of VS Seeker. Now, normally I would say run 4 copies of Ultra Ball, absolutely. But since I run Pokemon Fan Club, not to mention, even though, yeah, Zoroark does have the Psychic Resistance, it's only -20. And yeah, you want to be a little bit more careful. So Ultra Ball, it's not that it's becoming any worse of a card. It's just that since Garbodor is still very much high meta right now, you gotta be a bit more careful with your items. Even if you're playing a dark deck, you gotta be careful. Alright. So next up for our items here, we have 2 copies of Field Blower. Helps us get rid of choice bands and troublesome stadiums or other tools. Maybe, I guess some Megars will still play like Gardevoir and Quaquaque, stuff like that. And every now and then you see Mewtwo. But this is basically mainly choice band removal along with stadium removal. Alright. We also have 3 copies of Trainer's Mail to help us search for all this lovely stuff. 2 copies of Floatstone just attached to our Zoroark so we could stand and retreat for free. And one of the best things that could have ever happened to a Zoroark deck is Choice Band. Whew! Choice Band, what a card. Does 30 more damage to your opponent's active GX or EX. So, really, really amazing. So, this turns a 160 max output to a 190 max output to an EX and GX. So that's really good. Not to mention with Kukui, that's 210. And if they've already been hit with a Koko, that's 230 total damage. So not much is going to be surviving that. Not much at all. Alright. And also I run 1 Super Rod and 1 Rescue Stretcher. This is mainly for my energies, but having 2 ways to get Pokemon back into the deck is really good. Or if I just want to use the Rescue Stretcher to put Pokemon to my hand, then I still have the Super Rod to get Pokemon back in my deck if I wanted to. So that's why I personally run both of these. Though you really can't only choose between one if you wanted. Like if you only want Rescue Stretcher, that's fine. If you only want to run Super Rod, that's fine too. Though I do highly recommend you run at least one of these cards. Doesn't have to be both, but like I said, having both is just my personal preference. Alright. And that does it for the item count here. Just scoop all this up. Yeah, items is another thing you can get a little creative with too. Because of the fact that we have to try to like not run as big bulk of items with Garbodor everywhere. So just any kind of one of items you guys want to run, that's completely fine. And for our stadium counts here, we've got 2 Reverse Valley and 1 Parallel City. Now, Reverse Valley adds 10 more damage for our Dark Pokemon damage, so that's more damage you're adding with Zoroark. So, I said the maximum you could do after a Tapu Koko's Flying Flip would be 230. This turns into 240, so I know, crazy number, but we do have big Pokemon out there nowadays, especially all these Stage 2 GXs. Crazy. And Parallel City, just because it's Parallel City and it's amazing. Normally, you would put the bench 3 on yourself, because obviously you don't want to take away damage from Zoroark, but if you limit them to that, that's still 100 base damage you're doing with Zoroark. And not every deck out there are big EXs and GXs, so sometimes doing 100 damage plus Kukui and Tapu is more than enough. So you just gotta like watch how you play this card, but Parallel City both ways can give you a huge advantage if you play correctly. And now for our, well, I almost said items. Now our energy, 3, 4, 5, 6 basic dark energy, and 4 double colorless energy. And with that, that is going to be the end of my Tapu Chicken Zoroark deck profile. Now stick around tomorrow for my matchup against Professor K's Metagross deck, which is a deck that's been doing surprisingly well for a Stage 2 deck. So, can my #1 Pokemon take on Metagross? You guys are going to have to just stick around tomorrow to find out. So, if you guys like this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I will see you guys tomorrow. This has been N with the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and I'll catch you guys later.